tracked down Mr. Jackson. Apparently he sold the car to a man matching Joel Deary's description. Joel Deary's DNA confirmed in the car and on a laptop under the seat.
So Joel did park the car there?
So what?
Wait.
That means he didn't kill himself. It was a setup.
Means it's like she said.
No.
There's no obvious answer. There is no flipping cigar.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 236 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that has never been a rave, and based on Friday's episode, it's quite glad of the fact. I'm Gavin.
And I have been to a rave.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
In a field in Connecticut. A Connecticut rave? That sounds like the least ravey rave.
Yeah.
Connecticut, don't you know? Popping the rees with their pinky out.
Yeah. I mean, cornfields, yes, but those are mostly like keggers in the cornfields.
Kegger!
But, you know, raves are in like old empty warehouses.
Aircraft hangars.
Yeah, which will probably fall down around us if we're not careful. And sometimes barns. And sometimes you sneak into the fairgrounds in December and have one in the hall where they have the giant pumpkins when the Woodstock Fair is on Labor Day weekend.
Are you sure what you're describing as a rave?
Considering the amounts of LSD that were consumed during these events, yes.
But was there techno music?
Of course.
Ugh.
And those little glow stick things.
I'm so old.
And body paint.
Oh. Glow in the dark.
Yes.
Classy. Well, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have our things we did when we were young and stupid, right?
Yeah. I just mostly listened to heavy metal when I was doing my drugs.
And shoplifting.
Oh, yeah, tons of that. I'm so good at it. I should have kept at it. You know, if you've got a natural talent for something.
You have a natural talent for lots of things, though.
Oh, well. I don't like to blow my own trumpet.
No, that's my job.
If I could, I would be doing that right now. So how are you?
Yeah, all right. Catalog some great posters this week.
Oh, I thought we were going to get through a week without me hitting this button, but
No, it's what the fans demand.
it's what two people said that they liked one time. Snippy auction talk.
Yes. Yeah, I remember last week I'd gone to a house
Last week on auction talk.
to pick stuff to pull, like books and stuff, and one of the things that I pulled was like a box full of old posters from the 1990s and 80s and 60s, actually, quite a bit.
When did we stop saying decades in an amusing fashion?
Never.
It feels like we've drifted away from that. We should bring that back. Maybe that would get the Canadians back. 1970s, etc.
Right, yeah. Like
Worth a shot.
a really cool 1960s Detroit Tigers poster. Go Tigers. In the playoffs. Very excited.
Yeah, we're such sports ball people.
I like baseball.
Go sports team.
Baseball's a comforting sport to watch. It has rhythms, and it's not confusing, and people don't shout terms that you don't know what they are. Looking at you, football. And also, I don't know, polo.
And basketball, where everything's a foul. Fucking hell, grow up. Anyway.
I think they've already grown up.
Anyway.
Yes. But what was really exciting was an Isabella Rossellini poster from Blue Velvet.
Now you've got me interested.
From Blue Velvet, the David Lynch movie.
I know what Blue Velvet is.
Yes, we have a friend who was an extra in that movie.
Who never stops telling that story.
If I was in a David Lynch movie once, I would eat out on that story every night.
I'm not complaining.
Every night. So yeah, and Empire and a 1980 Empire Strikes Back Star Wars poster as well. That was pretty exciting.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's nice because I have my niche. And sometimes I feel like people don't understand that these old pieces of paper are actually worth a lot of money because posters don't tend to last very long. They're very fragile. And I don't think people really think of paper as being fragile, but it is.
Right.
Especially if it's on a teenage boy's wall.
Ugh. Yeah. Pure Isabella Rossellini.
But anyway, yeah, so was my week. How was your week? I had to chauffeur you every day this week instead of just Tuesday and Wednesday.
Normally I'm working in the office 3 days a week.
Right.
We've been told that we have to go now to working every second Friday for no good reason.
No.
But our Wi-Fi was getting worked on by Comcast on Thursday and Friday, so I went into the office 5 days this week.
I know.
For the first time since
2019.
Yeah, since March 10th or whatever it was.
Right.
2020. So that's a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. And it's also, I've said to the team that the worst thing about it is it means that I have to find 5 shirts to wear in a week as opposed to my green polo shirt, black polo shirt, checked blue shirt, which I wear my 3 days every single week.
Welcome to my world. At least you don't have to accessorize.
Yeah, so I've been watching what I've been eating over the last month or so, and I'm pleased to report that I've been able to fit into these slim fit shirts that were kind of riding up over my belly, and now they're not doing that, so that's good news.
I wouldn't know because you wear a hoodie over them.
Yeah.
So I don't get to see your svelte body as much as I would like.
Moving on. Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that arbitrary corrie news.
Where'd that come from?
Every second Friday, there's no point.
No, it's true. Emrys Cooper, a.k.a. Evil Rowan, is starring in a remake of Nosferatu. But no, not that one.
Or that one.
Yeah, well, the not the one that's coming out in theaters here in the United States.
Not the Eggers one.
Yeah, not the Eggers one with Willem Dafoe, who is in everything. I'm surprised he hasn't popped up on Coronation Street.
Give it time.
This year. Which is currently available on Prime Video in the UK. Sadly, I don't think it's available on Prime Video here in the US yet. But it stars Doug Jones, so you'd think that it would be available here eventually, because if there's one thing Americans love, it's a really tall, skinny dude who plays a lot of aliens.
It's a shame because the VPN is normally the way round about this, but Amazon Prime is one of those things that says, are you using a VPN? Do you want to not do that? And then won't let you watch anything until you turn it off. So there's no way to circumvent that, unfortunately.
No.
That I know of. Wink.
It's going to be on Apple Plus on the 18th of October, but I'm not really sure if that's both here and in the UK.
So who does he play in this version?
Oh, shit. It's Thomas Hutter. So, if that means anything to anyone.
My favourite character.
Thomas Hutter?
I don't know, sure.
Yeah. I do like the Doug Jones. He's great. He was in that. He was this guy in that.
I know who he is.
Okay.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes. For those who can't see, which is all of you, I just did this thing.
Apart from me, I can see.
Where I put my hands over my eyes and then opened my eyes, and I said, he's this guy.
Except you didn't open your eyes, you opened your hands.
Yes, which are now my eyes because I'm that creature from Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, it's better when you describe it.
He also played the Silver Surfer in...
Stop telling me who he is! I know who he is.
The horrible Fantastic Four movie. He played the Silver
Oh,
Surfer, but the voice was Lawrence Fishburne. So the body was Doug Jones, and the voice was Lawrence Fishburne. It was Darth Vader all over again.
That's a line from Working Girl, isn't it?
What, it's Darth Vader all over again?
No, the body was Doug Jones, and the voice was.
Lawrence
I've got a body of Doug Jones, and I've got a voice of Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
I think that's what Melanie Griffith famously said.
Right, yes. Well, she watched Harrison Ford take off his shirt
Yeah.
in The Office.
That's a terrible joke. I don't know why I'm pushing it so hard.
I don't know either.
Let's back away from that.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Well, Joel and Dee Dee are quits, obviously. Callum Lil has happily popped the question to partner Roberta, who said yes. So mazel tov to them.
Congratulations to them.
Hopefully, hopefully he doesn't bring his work home.
Sure. I read on his Instagram that he was very complimentary of her and very grateful for her because he has been focusing on his career recently and has left a lot of things like
Proposing.
everything else in their life up to her.
Right.
And she has taken on that burden
Yeah.
graciously.
Yes. Most women do.
There you go.
Yeah. And finally, Peter Ash is taking some well-deserved rest and is putting his acting career on hold. Well, he says that, but he's also starring in a panto this Christmas. So, not a very long hold.
What's he starring in?
I think we've talked about this already, which is why I didn't write it down.
Memorable then. He's starring in pantomime! Exclamation
Yeah,
mark,
it's not something.
at the Lyceum Theatre, Chipping Sodbury.
It's not something that I recognize. No, it's not Aladdin. Aladdin was last year, wasn't it? And he was in Aladdin. Oh. No, maybe he is. No, it is Aladdin this year. Yeah, it's Aladdin. He plays Abanazar, my favorite character from Aladdin.
Love that character.
Yeah. I rewatched the live action Aladdin this week.
Why?
Alan Tudyk does the voice of the parrot.
Fair enough. I mean, when you say it like that, that makes total sense.
Thank you. Because remember, Gilbert Gottfried is now deceased. And also Alan Tudyk does all the voices for Disney now, especially of birds. And that's Corrie News.
I suppose so. Well, after those choppy, unpredictable waters of Corrie News, it's time for some more plain sailing as we reach the harbour of the feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. Stop raving.
Can't help it.
We should have got high for this episode. That's what we should have done. We should have dropped a couple of eckies and podcasted.
Or just gotten some gummies from the shop up the street.
I'd say about doing that and you keep on backing out.
I do not. I just remind you that you don't do well on weed.
We'll have this conversation. It's hash that I'm used to that I don't have a good experience with. I've never had weed.
Which is weird. Anyway.
Everyone's a critic. Red Day writes in, for someone who hates Billy Joel, I feel like you've been mentioning him at least once an episode for the last month. Well, we're an opinionated little bunch this week, aren't we?
Yes.
Red Day continues, also, a drum circle is exactly what it sounds like.
Right.
A group of hippies sitting in a circle playing bongo drums by hand.
Yes.
Thank you
Not
very much.
always bongo drums.
I feel insulted and educated. Thank you very much, Red Day. I appreciate it.
I thought you were kidding when you said you didn't know what a drum circle was, which is why I didn't explain it to
No,
you
no.
last week.
And I imagined that you didn't know what it was either, because knowing you, if you knew what it was, you'd have explained it to me. Then Wo Deep writes in, I was delighted that the plug sockets in the Turkish hospital were of the correct Eurozone variety, no expense spared, which saves me having to check that out.
Right.
This week I thought the post-funeral scene in the Rovers had a very different and unusual vibe. I can't remember any scene in the pub where there was such a sense of no one knowing what to say.
Or where to look.
Yeah. We returned to normal in the Todd Vicar flat encounter, but there was something different in the pub segment. I agree very much with that.
Yeah.
The funereal scenes in Corrie can kind of go that sort of dark way, but even for that, it was, as soon as Billy walked in,
Yeah. Drunk.
fun left.
Drunk as a skunk.
Not for the first time that happened.
No, and we'll talk more about that later.
Oh, sure. Pickled Joe writes, I loved the They Might Be Giants reference by Helen on this week's podcast.
Aw.
Took me right back, that did. And then she says, here's a picture of me working at Our Price in Manchester in the 1990s. I'd finish work, walk past Clark's shoe shop in the Arndale to Greg's to grab a pasty before jumping on the bus home to watch Deirdre, Blanche and Ken on Corrie.
Aw.
Thank you very much,
Let me
Pickled
see this
Joe.
picture.
Oh. There it is.
Oh, look at her Kool-Aid hair.
A very young Pickled Joe from the 1990s. We
Yes.
were all young in the 1990s, weren't we?
Yes, we were. I love it.
Thank you, that made my day. That was somebody running with a joke. That's what that's called.
Yes.
I appreciated that. Then Alan writes, well, Alan has a theory.
Oh,
Dee
do
Dee and
tell.
Swain have done something, killed him, to Joel. And this is why Swain winced when she was getting in the car and Dee Dee was watching the water drain away in her sink, as if she's previously washed blood off her hands. I don't necessarily agree with that,
No, me neither.
but
But it is an interesting theory.
that is an interesting theory, and it does draw attention to the fact that Swain was kind of favouring her side a little bit.
Yeah.
And what was Dee Dee doing when she was watching the water swill away? Because the things that we were speaking about last week, like the noises that Mason seemingly heard and Racist Kelly heard, didn't seem to really amount to anything. And then we kind of started rather with the water going down the drain. I was like, I'm not sure what this is
I think
supposed to be telling us.
I think it's just a metaphor for her life going down the drain because
Oh, we like a metaphor.
because of the evil fiance thing.
And I've read some rumours about why Swain was kind of favouring her side a little bit. And I really hope they're not true.
Kidney stone?
Pulled muscle, yes.
Those are two different things.
Then Sharon writes, hello, Dev and Sunita. Why is everyone so against Bethany for having liposuction? Surely it's no different from having turkey teeth or a boob job. We all do stuff to improve ourselves. It was what happened during the operation, not the procedure itself. Mind you, at least we haven't got to listen to her whiny little voice at the moment, which is always a blessing. I thought Paul's funeral was quite tastefully done, and I thought Billy did the right thing by allowing his dad to be there. Bernie was incredibly cruel to tell him about Paul being dead before he spoke to him. The rave was strange. They were all dancing on an 8-foot square bit of AstroTurf. Yeah, I thought that was weird as
Right,
well.
especially since they blocked off the street.
The
You'd
whole
think that they
street.
would be dancing in the whole street.
Yeah. How can Gail sell the house? I thought it belongs to David. Another thing they've forgotten. Well,
Yes.
I can help with that.
Yes.
Debbie bought the house
Right.
when she and Ray Weinstein were trying to knock down the street and the cobbles to build
Precisely.
the skyscraper. And then Gail bought
Bought
it
the house back. Yep.
from Debbie.
So it is Gail's house.
Yeah. Much love, says Sharon. Superb podcast. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Sharon.
Thank you very much.
Keep up the non-racist good work.
Tell your friends.
And then Cheeky writes, I don't know why I expected the funeral for Paul to be a normal affair. It was anything but. The fact that his dad showed up is insane, given that they used the character so little leading up to Paul's death. Bringing that character back just felt like a waste. I'm glad that Billy finally knows the truth about Paul being dead before he said his last paragraph. I guess I was more surprised that Billy would go on a drunken bender instead of just crying in the apartment or at the park like most people usually do.
Do we not remember that Billy is a drug addict?
Well, I was going to say former drug addict.
That's not how addiction works.
Sure. This is the second time he's got pie-eyed in a month.
Right?
One thing I'll never understand is Hope's obsession with vaping, because there's been no indication that people say that it makes you look cool or that she's popular because she does it. I also don't like the fact that the writers chose to make Fizz pregnant for no reason.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say that is nice about that storyline is at least it addresses the issue of how difficult it is for a full family to say we can't have another one. Lastly, I like that they figured out Joel's death faking issue, because if they'd waited too long to solve that, I'd probably become quite upset.
Well, they still haven't technically solved that.
Well, I was kind of confused between Wednesday and Thursday, but I guess we'll speak to that. We'll speak to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, thank you to Cheeky, to Sharon, to Alan, to Pickle Joe, to Mo Deep, and to Red Day for their feedback and comments this
And
week.
picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more of that.
Yes.
Always appreciated.
Yes.
And feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at the talk of the street at gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of their brevity.
We should post pictures of ourselves in the 1990s so people could see what you look like with hair, with your mullet in San Francisco.
Yeah, I could do that. That was the 1990s.
That was the 1990s. You look quite fetching in a mullet.
I just can't. I must have been constantly hot with all that hair. A thick hair. You take it for granted, folks, and then you wake up one morning and it's gone.
Yeah. I told Benny last week that I was going to cry when he started losing his hair.
That's a nice thing to say to him.
Well, because he was giving Nick a hard time for balding. And I was like, at least Nick can grow a beard. I love my children.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could post a picture of me from the 1990s too. I was so cute.
Did you have a mullet?
No.
That's not your fault. And now we'll podcast for coffee. I'm wondering why this is my second peachy peace tea today. And it's because I had one at work. Because I was at work. Ugh. We are drinking our own coffees and buying our own coffees this week,
Oh
which is absolutely fine. The Talk of the Street, though, is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show us some love. Sign up there as a friend of the podcast at patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free. Get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. Shall we dive in, my dear, to this week's episodes?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline tonight is scenes from a viaduct near the border with Emmerdale. Honestly, I thought Dee Dee was going to turn up in Emmerdale. She was that far out of Manchester. That didn't happen.
No.
That's a shame. There should be more crossover between the two soaps.
Right. Remember when there was a newspaper in Coronation Street that had an article about something that happened in EastEnders? Mm-hmm. Or no, it wasn't EastEnders. It was the hospital one. Doctors.
Casualty?
Or something. Yeah.
I think they all got in on it.
Right,
There was
yeah, because
definitely
it was
some...
a climate change thing
Yeah,
where everybody was mentioning one another
yeah. So they're all
in very subtle ways, and then it was over.
in the same universe, which explains why no one in EastEnders watches Coronation Street and vice versa.
Correct.
On Monday, at home, Dee Dee gets Joel's message from last night that he left in the car with his jammed face. And she seems to have issues focusing on the water as it goes down the sink.
Is Swain.
So upset, Dee Dee takes the message to Swain and is already snarky when Swain complains of a broken phone, and then more so when Swain suggests that it sounds like this is a permanent departure. Dee Dee doesn't think this is Joel's MO. Meanwhile, Kit has a location on the last ping from Joel's mobile, so he and Swain go off to check it out. And sure enough, out in the country, near a bridge, or a viaduct, I think,
Yes.
they find Joel's car, and on the dashboard, a note.
Yes. On very clean white paper.
Folded once down the middle,
Yes.
very sharply,
Very clean white paper. Mm-hmm. With no lines.
and no tears.
No.
And no sweetie wrappers
And
no dust in the dashboard either.
And a very clean line. No ripping of the paper when it was torn out of the notebook.
No, and it was beautifully creased.
Yes.
This man has obviously taken some time to perfect this.
Yes.
Swain goes back to Nina's Rolls and tells Dee Dee and Carla and Roy about the note. Dee Dee says, no body, no suicide, and she refuses to believe it.
And also, this is Joel we're talking about.
Yeah. Why are we suddenly believing anything that Joel tells us?
Right.
But Swain thinks the note was unequivocal. But Dee Dee reckons this is just Joel's game. Swain has had enough of Dee Dee and leaves, but she nearly chunders outside and she grabs her side.
Kidney stone.
Carla asks after her and Swain says, you're the only person that ever asks me that. Aye. And then insists that she's fine. But in the car, she's really struggling. Swain goes to the hospital to speak with Racist Kelly and let her know about Joel. Racist Kelly thought she heard him in the back garden yesterday at number 8, but it wasn't him. It seems Racist Kelly was expecting Swain to get back quicker after leaving a message. Everyone's given Swain such a hard bloody time today.
Yeah, but, her message says, I think Joel's in my back garden. He might try to kill me. You would think Swain would move faster than the next day. She just called 999.
Yeah. If
Like
she was
a
that,
normal
if she was
person.
that concerned.
Right?
And it turned out to be nothing.
Right. It was a raccoon or something. Because there are lots of raccoons in Manchester.
Have we talked about the Raccoons theme tune before? I think we have.
We have.
Yeah. Damn
We
it.
have.
I love that tune. They wish each other well. Meanwhile, Dee Dee has gone to the location where Joel's car was found and she goes exploring in a nearby field, deftly avoiding the gaze of the police that are gathered at the viaduct.
Correct.
She asks
Which
for...
isn't hard to do because they're all turned around facing the viaduct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just admiring the
Nobody's looking at her.
brickwork. Right. She asks for Racist Kelly to ping her the last location that Lizzie's tramp tracker picked Joel up on. And when she checks that out, she finds a car under a tarp near a dilapidated farmhouse.
Yes. See, no. This is because remember last week, Racist Kelly said, it's really weird. He was out in the middle of nowhere in the woods.
Yeah.
And then there was somewhere else he was. I'm trying to remember where the other location was, but it was also another weird random place.
That's right.
They haven't revealed that this week, though.
The farmhouse is creepy as fuck. Dee Dee calls Swain with the details. And I was kind of thinking that something was going to happen there, that Dee Dee...
Was going to get moitered.
or jumped off, whatever, even though the police were quite close by.
Yeah.
But all the tension that was built in that scene
Yeah.
kind of went nowhere. I was a
Right.
little disappointed in that.
Did you want, Michael Myers to, jump out and stab her and stuff?
No, I just wanted an old crotchety man to be woken up or something, or just for something to happen to release the tension. Because Joel obviously wasn't going to be
Like
there.
that blind man in that movie where the kids try to creep into his
Doesn't
house.
necessarily need to be blind, no. Just an old crotchety man who owns a dilapidated building, just going about his business. Or someone from Emmerdale just wanders into the scene.
Planting potatoes or something.
Not necessarily planting potatoes, just an old man just going about his day, just comes round the corner and gives her a fright.
Said, "Oi!"
And gives the viewer a fright and just
Oi,
releases
what's all
that
this?
tension. Not necessarily saying that exact line, but... So,
I have to live with this.
Timson's, all the shops. So they all reconvene at Nina's Rolls. Dee Dee thinks the car was what Joel planned to drive away in. What we call in the trade, a getaway car. Swain says the car is registered to someone else and they're tracking them down. Dee Dee thinks it proves the suicide scene was faked. I don't know if it does that. Roy points out...
It is a very clean new car, though. It's
Yeah.
not like a car that's been sitting there by that dilapidated old house.
Correct.
Forever.
Roy points out that sometimes a cigar is a cigar, and there isn't a conspiracy, but maybe in this case, the scene of the crime guys didn't see a hidden car simply because they weren't looking for it.
This is not a pipe.
Is that what I was referencing?
No. I don't know where sometimes a cigar is just a cigar comes from. Is it Freud? Is it Sigmund Freud who said sometimes a cigar is just a cigar?
And not your Bobby? Oh, sorry. It's not one's Bobby.
Oh, no, it's a famous misquote often attributed to Sigmund Freud.
Which you have just done.
But there is no evidence that Freud ever said or wrote the phrase. In fact, it's unlikely he would have made such a comment because it goes against one of his key findings.
Yes. Which is what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Swain gets a message and rushes out without explaining where she's going. At Joel's, Swain and Kit are intrigued by the suicide note, which was on a crisp page from a notebook. Kit finds the notebook with a page torn out, which proves it was written at home. The suicide wasn't spur of the moment, as a voicemail suggests. Roy insists on taking Dee Dee. The suicide note wasn't spur of the moment, as the voicemail suggested. Back in the street, Roy insists on taking Dee Dee to the pub. Carla and Swain are already there. Swain spies Kit getting a message, so she slides over to him and finds out that the guy who owned the car under the tarp recently sold it to someone matching Joel's description, and they also found Joel's DNA and laptop under the seat. There is no fucking cigar, says Swain.
Yes. Which is apt because she's a lesbian.
Sure.
Yeah. So obviously there is no cigar in her life.
There's maybe a plastic. Anyway.
Because sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. It's supposed to have a phallic meaning.
Yeah, which
Yes.
what I said some
Right.
minutes ago.
We were talking about Freud. Yes.
Well,
But
you were talking about Freud.
Yes.
On Wednesday, Nina's
Don't I
rolls
always?
more than you probably should. And Nina's rolls, Dee Dee catches Kit and tells him that she'd gone round all the vendors involved in her wedding, but Joel has already been in touch and cashed in on the refunds. How many suicidal men are interested in building up funds? Outside, Kit speaks to Swain, who confirms that they're waiting on the number plate recognition people to get back to them about the movements of both of Joel's cars. It'll be interesting to see which one he drove last. Later, Swain ducks out of Paul's wake when it looks like it's getting a bit spicy, and she bumps into Carla, who's paying for it all, and then the two of them head to the bistro to hunker down in their bunker. That was quite nice, wasn't it?
And drink
Helen?
wine.
Yeah.
Yes.
On Friday, at the police station, Dee Dee runs into Joel's dad, who is in no mood to hear her theories that his son faked his suicide. And this is broken up by Swain, who takes Dee Dee away to the interview room and explains as calmly and politely as possible that she really needs to wake up to the possibility that Joel did just kill himself.
Now,
and this is a bit that confuses me.
do Joel's parents know that he was arrested for sexual assault, and they have a new grandson, or any of this?
You would
What do
assume
they
so.
know, and what do they not know?
I had-
and who told them?
I had pushed Joel's mum and dad completely out of my head.
Yeah,
So when he showed up, I was like, oh God, no, this prick again.
not these racist old bats.
At least it's not the mother.
That's true.
But the bit that confused me was Swain sitting there saying to Dee Dee, look, the dad really thinks that he killed himself. That we have the note, we have some evidence that something like that has happened. You really need to accept it. But the previous day, she'd had a conversation with Kit about number plate recognition.
Right, yeah.
Coming back to tell her which car had been driven last.
Right,
so
yeah.
until that information comes in, I don't think anyone can be sure that Joel committed suicide or didn't.
Right. I think what she's trying to say is, leave that poor old man alone.
Yeah, but she was also kind of saying to Dee Dee, you need to get on with your life and just accept this. And she might have just been saying that knowing that she has this little thing going on
Right.
the side.
Yeah.
But
Which
it's never
Dee Dee
really as
is
subtle
not
as that.
privy to and should not be privy to. So I think she's just trying to get Dee Dee to move on so they can do their investigation without her mucking it up by yelling at this man whose son was a sex offender.
Right. Meanwhile, at the factory, Carla is in no mood for Kirk being Kirk. And when Ryan, who doesn't work at the factory, shows up at the factory with mail for her, she bites his head off too. Later, in Nina's rolls, Kirk and Ryan are talking about Kirk's singles club idea.
Which is what Carla bit his head off
Yeah.
for. Because he was trying to give her a button.
And he asks Swain if she's single, and she interprets that as Kirk asking her out.
Yeah.
and she nearly dies.
Right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ryan explains how worried Carla is about her day in court, and Swain can understand that. This is serious business. But later, Swain is at the Rovers getting hot pot to go, and apparently Carla practically slammed her door in her face earlier on, and she asks Ryan if anything else is happening, but Ryan plays dumb. Then Kirk mistakes sleeping with the enemy for Sleepless in Seattle,
That's correct.
and that was hilarious.
Was it?
No.
Okay.
I need Kirk to stop doing this.
Well, it's not his fault. Blame the writers.
This is seldom funny.
When are they going to give us our depression storyline for him?
When are they going to give us Kirk's depression story?
We need another mental health story for a man in this show.
To explain why Kirk is Kirk.
What he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, he was hard going on Friday.
It was hard lines.
Ryan goes back to the flat and goes through Carla's open mail and discovers that her divorce from Peter has come through. This explains Carla's mood. He tells her about Swain being concerned about her. Carla says, "It was just weird. Seen it in black and white." And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was a little surprised that the divorce had come through.
I was surprised it took so long.
Well, they didn't really speak in terms of divorce when they went their separate ways. They just said
No.
they were going to go their separate ways. I suppose it makes sense, but I wonder
But
who
there wasn't
petitioned it.
there wasn't an awful lot of discussion about it, and we didn't hear about it getting filed.
Do they split up now? But obviously they
Obviously
are,
they
because
are.
that's them divorce. And Carla had changed her name.
Right, yes, and Peter was stooping somebody else that
Right.
he had his arm around in a picture on the internet.
Dirty boy.
Stooping someone else. Carla's right there. Look at her.
Yeah.
Look at her. You'll never do better than that, Peter.
No.
You
No,
really
I won't.
won't.
Well, quite literally, that ship has sailed. Oh dear.
See, they should make Kirk say things like that.
What? Kirk should say things that I say?
Yes.
Ugh.
Like that ship has sailed.
I don't know how to
Literally.
take that.
Because the jokes they give him just aren't funny. And they just make him look dumb.
It's I don't understand who would mistake sleeping with the enemy for Sleepless in Seattle.
Right.
Who's making that? And who doesn't know who Julia Roberts is and needs to be told Pretty Woman?
Or doesn't know who Meg Ryan is. And Tom Hanks. How can you mistake Julia Roberts for Meg Ryan?
Yeah, that's difficult.
There's a height difference there.
There's more than a height difference there, let's be
Right,
honest.
yes, but let's start with the height difference, shall we?
Okay, then hair colour,
Yes.
hairstyle,
Right.
face,
Face.
build.
Right. And also, who was in Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts? Who was the...
Oh, it was that guy that was in that thing.
Was that guy that was in that thing? So it wasn't Tom Hanks.
No.
Can you imagine Tom Hanks playing a character like that? Tom Hanks would never play a character like that.
Patrick Bergen.
Yeah, whatever happened to that guy?
I don't know. He is an Irish actor, perhaps best known for his leading role opposite Julia Roberts in Sleeping with the Enemy, the title character in Robin Hood, the terrorist Kevin O'Donnell in Patriot Games, and for playing the villainous Ada Maguire in the BBC soap EastEnders.
What? Right, so that doesn't even make sense if they're all in the same universe. Because he would have been in that
Oh,
same...
no, my head's going to break.
So, Sleeping with the Enemy cannot be a movie that Kirk has seen. Because it stars someone who was in EastEnders.
Yeah, but it's not the character who starred in the movie.
Right.
So that's okay.
So it's like his mysterious cousin or
Just
twin?
someone who looks like him. And I can see that a lot of people in Ireland probably look like Patrick Bergen.
The multiverse of
He's
British
73
soaps.
now.
God, how old does that make Julia Roberts?
We're now in the section of the podcast that we like to call How Old is Julia Roberts? Would you like to guess? Oi, phone down. Guess.
65?
Poor Julia Roberts is 56. And
She's 56. She's like
don't say my age. She's not my age.
4 years older than you.
5 years older than me.
I thought you were 52.
I'm 51.
Oh, but still, I thought she was significantly older than you.
You thought she was 65.
Yes.
I doubt Julia Roberts is going to sign up to be a friend of the podcast this week.
See, Sandra Bullock is 60. That makes more sense.
See, you say that in a, see, I was right kind of way.
See,
I
Jennifer...
was right when I said Julia Roberts was 65 because Sandra Bullock's in her 60s.
Right.
See?
Jennifer Aniston is only 55, and yet I think of Jennifer Aniston as being significantly younger than Julia Roberts.
I must pull us back to Coronation Street.
Must you?
We get little hints about Carla and Swain here.
A little bit.
Little bit.
I know the fandom is a bit torn here.
There are lots of people who are loving it.
Yeah.
And there are those who say, must you imagine every female friendship to be sexually
Charged.
driven?
Yeah. I can see that. I can understand that because you see an awful lot of this. I also just wish I would prefer there to be more gay characters on the show that are gay from the start. Like Swain. You know? Whereas we're constantly getting women on the show who have been straight for a very long time on the show, all of a sudden jumping into bed with Paula.
I don't know if we're constantly getting that, but we did have Paula.
That's the example.
Paula and Tracy.
Right.
And we did have Rana, who was going to marry Zidane, remember?
Right, yes.
Before that Kate had her wily ways with her.
Right. And then Nina and Asha were both straight characters having heterosexual relationships.
Yeah, maybe it is constantly.
And then all of a sudden they're together. Mm-hmm. And no hint until it happened that was going to happen.
I have no issue with Carla going that way and realising later in life that maybe after all the disappointment that she's had with men over the years, maybe it's time to try a woman.
Yeah. But I kind of...
Or to be not against the idea.
But I also kind of feel like it plays into a stereotype that lots of men have, that lesbians are trying to turn all of the straight women gay, just like they think all gay men are trying to turn them gay, sort of thing. This is like
what straight men think.
I think a lot of straight men do think. I know you don't think that way, but I mean, look at all of these people that have a problem if their children's teacher is a gay man who says, I am married to a man, or they read books with gay characters. They're afraid reading a book with gay characters is going to make their kids gay.
See, my inkling on a gay man's thought, not a gay man, a straight man's thought on a lesbian woman is, yeah, she's a lesbian now, but
I can fix her.
I'd straighten her out, so to speak.
Right, yes, there's also that.
Which is, I don't know if that's more deplorable or equally deplorable, but
Why are
men?
Why are men?
As Swain...
This is why we prefer bears.
As Swain demonstrated after listening to Kirk for 5 minutes when she just kind of went...
Yeah.
I think that says it all.
Yeah. Yeah. But more gay characters who are gay from the get-go, please.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, well, we're getting a little bit closer to getting some conclusion, I guess, on Joel's storyline.
Yeah. Again, it just feels...
Once we all agree that he's not dead and somebody finds him. But
yeah, it just... Does it feel like it's getting just maybe dragged out just a little too much?
Yeah, they don't want to end it at the first opportunity. They always want to get a little topper.
Well, is this really the first opportunity?
Probably not.
It's like the 10th opportunity.
It's definitely, we're in topper territory now, and it feels like it's outseen its welcome.
Right. Whereas we have another storyline that begins and ends this week.
which I think we're going to talk about right now.
Yes.
If we want to talk about Tyrone's super spooge. Is that what you had in mind?
Yes.
Let's talk about that then.
Yes. He's stealing it from Steve.
Well,
He's just secretly kind of just...
milking him? Well, is that what you were going to say?
He's got cups of it
Oh.
in the refrigerator, and he uses a turkey
Oh, you
baster.
don't want that. You don't want that in your fridge. Oh,
Little
smell.
bits of Steve in your fridge.
A rogue hair round about the edge of the... No. On Monday, Fizz isn't feeling great in the morning. I'm not feeling great. And can't face her breakfast. Well, I wonder what's up with Fizz. Tyrone has made
All of a sudden.
some secret plans with Cassie to celebrate Fizz's belated birthday.
Yeah, which we've already done.
Yeah.
Why are we still celebrating Fizz's birthday from last week?
And he's starting to think that it's cursed. It is. So stop trying to do things.
Cut it out, man.
Fizz is shattered at work and has the afternoon off, but when she gets up to leave, she nearly passes out, so the knicker people insist that she goes to the doctor. At home, Cassie's blowing up phallic balloons. She and Ty are worried about where Fizz has got to, but can't exactly give her a call to chase her up to her own surprise party. But she's at the doctor's, and Dr Gaddas reckons that as she's still getting her hole every now and again with Ty, she's probably up the duff. 2 peas on a stick later, and it's confirmed. She tells Izzy at the factory, who appreciates how Alina's baby makes this complicated, but Fizz doesn't even know if she wants it and is worried that Ty really will. But she goes home to her surprise dinner, but it's Tyrone who gets the surprise when he
Hey.
learns that his bun is in Fizz's oven. Tyrone isn't appalled and reckons they can do this all over again, even if it is a girl, and he ends up outnumbered in his own home,
Which he already is.
6-1.
How would one more just tip the scales when he is so outnumbered?
Right. On Wednesday, Tyrone tells Ruby and Hope that Fizz is sick with a dicky tummy, and Hope immediately guesses that Fizz is pregnant, and by his stupid reaction, she becomes sure, and Tyrone admits it, and swears them to secrecy. And we've been talking over the last few weeks about how bad parents
Are in the show?
Fizz
Yeah.
and Tyrone are.
Yeah.
They're just dreadful this week.
They're the
This
worst.
is the first example of Tyrone unable to lie to his children convincingly.
I guess it's a good thing. But then
Sometimes you want to keep things to yourself.
But then forces them to lie to their grandmother and great grandmother.
Right. Fizz is not impressed when she learns about this, rightly so, blaming Tyrone for being unable to keep his gob shut, just denying it and accusing him of deliberately letting it slip so that it becomes real, but Fizz can't go through with it. They don't have the space and she doesn't have the energy. Ty knocks over Hope's bag and a vape falls out that he suggests she might just be looking after for a mate. Fucking hell, Ty. When they confront Hope, she's unrepentant and ups the ante when she admits to stealing it from Dev. The prices Dev charges, it's little wonder.
And she says with a straight face, at least I'm not doing drugs. And it's like, what is wrong with the educational system in that country that she does not understand that is in fact a drug? What do you think you're smoking exactly, dear heart?
Well, they think it's a safe cigarette, is what they think it is.
Right. It's still tobacco.
Or it's still nicotine. I don't think
Yeah.
it's tobacco.
It's still a drug. Nicotine is a drug.
Tyrone promises to drag her around to Dev to apologise and she'll be paying him back. Later, Tyrone is worried that Fizz has given up on the pregnancy because Hope is a handful. That's a lovely way of putting that,
Right,
Tyrone.
yeah. Don't let Hope hear you say that, man.
Fizz doesn't think that they have a choice, and if it wasn't for Doran, she thinks Tyrone would agree, and tearfully, that's what he does.
Yeah.
So on Friday, Fizz books herself in for an abortion next week, confident that it's the right decision. Tyrone is worried about what to tell the girls, so they decide to tell Hope that it was a false positive,
Right.
and she's not pregnant after all, and never was. Tyrone admits that he told them too soon, and they shouldn't have done that. So Hope speaks to Sam about this.
Great.
Yep, tells him about Fizz's phantom pregnancy, so he tells her about Toya's story, how she thought she was pregnant, but it turned out to be ovarian cancer. Worried about this, Hope approaches Fizz and explains about Toya, who thought she was pregnant but turned out she had cancer, And Fizz's reaction to this is nothing. Fizz learns in the space of a second
That her children are terrified that she has
no,
cancer.
that Toya was pregnant,
Well, she wasn't pregnant.
but it wasn't pregnant. She had cancer.
Uh-huh.
And Fizz has no follow-up questions about that whatsoever.
Maybe she knows already. I mean, that was a couple weeks ago.
I don't think she knows this. Otherwise, why would Hope be telling her?
Yeah, because Hope didn't know about it. Although that doesn't mean anything.
Toya and Fizz used to live together in the salon flat, and they're somewhat kind of not blood related because Leanne's dad, Les, went out with Fizz's mum, Scylla.
Right,
So they were kind of step sisters, but not really.
right. It's kind of like Paul Rudd and Alicia Silverstone in that movie.
That's
Clueless.
what it was modeled
Yes,
on,
yes.
certainly.
Yes.
So,
Only Fizz and Toya never dated.
no. Which means that it's okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, in Clueless, it's an abomination what happens at the end of that movie.
Apparently,
But-
according to some people.
So it just struck me as being really odd that Fizz didn't have any reaction to this news at all.
No.
But anyway, Fizz says that she's not got cancer, but instead of sticking with the story, she decides to tell the kids that she really is still pregnant, but she's happy with the family that she's got now, and so she's going to terminate the pregnancy at the clinic next week. The girls are understandably quiet at this news, and later Tyrone thinks it was a dreadful idea to tell them this, reckoning that the kids are far too young. Fizz says they know about these things in school, and there have been enough lies in this house.
And
They deserve
remember,
the truth.
Hope was trying to get condoms a couple weeks ago.
Right.
I think she understands about sex.
Yes. There have been enough lies in this house. They deserve to know the truth. Even if it upsets them, asks Tyrone. Yes, screams everyone. And that's as far as we get with that story this week. So yeah, Fizz is pregnant, Fizz is not pregnant.
Yeah. And it feels really weird,
Or-
doesn't it?
Well, she's still pregnant just now, but
Right,
she's
yeah.
going to be not pregnant.
Right. Yeah. And all of this whole storyline basically happens
For what end?
for like 5 minutes.
All it does is prove to us again that Fizz and Tyrone are terrible parents.
Right. Yeah.
It gives Hope some excuses to lie again about things, about vaping and about not doing her homework, and she's
Stuff.
she's in asshole mode at the moment, certainly.
Remember when the show said that they were going to pull back on Hope's nefarious nature and make her into a normal kid with normal kid problems?
Yeah, and this is what's happened.
Yeah. This is
Vaping and lying and
right.
getting condoms off the doctor.
Right. Did you find it weird that these two girls who desperately wanted their little brother and are really sad that that they can't see their little brother? Did you think it was weird that they were just like, okay, about the abortion?
I don't think they were that. They were silent and kind of stared into space a bit.
Yeah. But she's like, do you have any questions or anything? And neither one of them said anything. And Hope tends to not keep things bottled up. Hope tends to explode at people.
I felt that they were
It
actually
was really weird,
quite affected by it, but chose not to say anything.
which is weird. Well, it's not weird for Ruby, but it is weird for Hope to not be outspoken here. Maybe because she was still so terrified that her mother had cancer that she made her tea and cookies.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, maybe.
How much of a terrible parent do you have to be when your kids make you tea and cookies and have sad faces, that your first response is, okay, what have you done now? Have you stolen more vapes?
This is how you know you live in Coronation Street. This is the way that you tell. You always jump to the
Wrong conclusion?
worst conclusion.
No, the worst conclusion is, what have you done now, Hope? Have you set anything else on fire? Or inadvertently caused the death of a child?
Yeah, there was some chat round about the condoms and knowing all about the facts of life and stuff that has made some people, maybe myself included in that, concerned about where this could be going with Hope.
Right.
And I really don't want another...
Teenage pregnancy?
Yeah.
And Dr. Gaddas said that, she was old enough to ask for condoms without her parents' permission.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I was a little surprised that wasn't a more awkward conversation between Fizz and Dr. Gaddas, considering that the last time Fizz mentioned Dr. Gaddas was to lay down the law to her about giving Hope condoms.
Right.
So there Fizz was reading the Riot Act to Dr. Gaddas about giving her daughter condoms, and then she goes to Dr. Gaddas herself a few weeks later up the duff.
Yeah. And
irony.
And not recognizing that she's up the duff, which one would expect.
Yeah, as soon as she's not in the mood for her breakfast, as soon as that's a line of dialogue, yeah, somebody's pregnant. Well, I really don't know where this is going with that. Whether she's going to change her mind and not get it, or... Where is this all playing in with the Doran stuff?
Right, yeah. It just feels really weird for out of the blue, Fizz is pregnant and getting an abortion. It just feels kind of out of left field, and it feels rushed. Mm-hmm. And it feels like there's enough storyline with all the Doran stuff that we don't really need to compound it with a Fizz pregnancy. And it's also really weird to have this character saying all these things about how she's too old and too run down to be pregnant or to be having a baby and taking care of baby things, when the actor herself just had a baby last year. Yeah. Was it like last year?
Or maybe earlier this year.
Fairly recently.
So yeah, so the character turns 40 last week, gets pregnant this week, and perhaps gets an abortion next week.
Yeah.
Maybe this is going in the direction of having a baby in later life. Maybe that's what the story is.
We already have a baby on the street at the moment, though. So until Frankie dies...
Well
do we really need another baby?
We've got 8 months to worry about it.
I guess that's true.
It's very coincidental that happens just after her 40th birthday.
Right, yeah, and the whole Doran thing.
Mm-hmm. That maybe that's... Maybe Alina and Doran are safe. Maybe this is what makes the two of them safe, is that Fizz is pregnant, because the whole thing on that was to put the idea of new life in Tyrone's head. Maybe that's what that was there for. Which should be good, because then Alina's safe.
Well, isn't she safe anyway?
Anything can happen to her in Romania. Anything.
Right, yes, because folks, that's a foreign country.
Katie died in Portugal.
Bethany is dying in Turkey.
Simon's mum died in Australia. Her name escapes me for a moment. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Our next story
please.
is just a few scenes on Monday, Helen.
Just
from
a few?
Bully for You. Stu gets to Speed Daal early and is shocked to find Mason there already, eating his breakfast. He slept the night there as he couldn't face going home to his brother, who would beat him up.
All right, so that noise and him turning to that noise was nothing.
As I suspected.
Then why even have a noise happen and him look over? Why even do that if it's going to be nothing?
Well, it's a real issue in the UK at the moment, Helen, that sometimes there are noises and people look over at them. So I felt this was dealing with that
nothing.
issue. Yeah, and sometimes they're nothing.
It's funny, though, because last night, in fact, I got up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to use the bathroom, and there were noises downstairs. And I was like, ugh, is Benny still up at 3 o'clock in the morning? I'm going to, throw hands. And I came downstairs, and no, there was nothing. There was nothing. There was nothing making any noise. The cats even were asleep. And then I went back upstairs, and then I heard noises downstairs again. It was weird.
It'd be Dobby.
No, Dobby was asleep in his crate. You can't make noise in his crate.
You woke him up.
You can't knock things over.
Anyway.
It's like that ghost that was moving my shirt the other day.
That was the fan.
And I was like really distracted by it while we were trying to do this podcast.
Oh, I remember. So anyway, Mason's sleeping at Speed Daal, worried about getting beaten up by his brother. Stu's understanding and sends Mason off to make him fucking breakfast. If you're going to be here, you might as well make me some of that.
Making me an omelette.
Stu, though, finds Yasmeen a tough sell when he suggests that Mason stays at theirs, and she's actually angered that Stu would even suggest it, given that Alia was stabbed by that racist that one time in this very restaurant.
Yes.
So Stu tries to find shelter for Mason.
And Mason had a zombie knife, which are now, I guess, illegal in the UK.
Excellent news.
Yes.
I hope that has an effect.
Yes.
They don't always have effect, but
no.
It'd be good if those horrible, horrible things get
apparently
taken off the streets.
Apparently they're like doing a buyback thing, and the boxes that they gave the buyback program aren't long enough for the zombie knives.
Ugh, horrible. It just makes my blood run cold, that stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
So Stu tries to find a shelter for Mason, but to no avail. So Yasmeen relents and lets Mason stay just one night, but she's quick to shepherd him into the house before any of the neighbours see.
With a hoodie on.
Yeah. And that's all that happens there.
That was hilarious.
I just think we're building up the Stu and Mason relationship so that the big bombshell gets revealed that Mason was the one what kind of hit and ran against Eliza.
Right. Broke Eliza's arm with a car.
With the wing mirror of a car. Of Tyrone's car.
Yes.
Can you remember the registration plate?
No.
N900 YOO.
Why are you asking me? I don't know.
I think that's what it was. So, nothing much more to say there, yes?
No.
Yes, no?
No, there is not.
Okay. So, we're on to our penultimate storyline, Turkey Teeth. On Monday, in Turkish hospital. What?
I was just thinking about the fact that you thought about making a Turkish version of that song and then thought better of it.
I wanted something twangy.
Like with a sitar?
But a sitar's not Turkish.
No. That's why I said it that way.
So that's a good thing that I didn't do that then.
Right, because that would be offensive.
Right.
It's good that you know this.
Yeah. Sometimes I have a filter. So in Turkish hospital, Sarah's having problems accessing her voicemail, so she calls Adam and asks him to check her messages for something from a loan company, and she gives him her PIN number and stuff. She would have spoken to David about this, but David's not answering his phone.
Right, yes, and her PIN number is Adam's birthday still.
When he checks, the loan company tells Sarah to fuck off, but then he comes across a message from Damon and quickly hangs up. But curiosity gets the better of him, so he calls the message number again, and this time listens to the message where Damon offers to pay for Bethany's treatment and tells him where he stashed some money in a lockup, and he gives the address and the combination. David and Adam meet on the street later. Seems Adam has paid into the crowdfunder. He thought it was anonymous. A likely story. He's paid 500 quid. And David winds Adam up about being Sarah's best ex. Much better than Windass.
Yes.
Sarah phones Adam later too to thank him.
Remember when David tried to kill Windass in a boxing ring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam tells her everyone on the street wants to help. It'll all be okay. Despite the loan company telling her to suck their balls.
Yes. Which
Dear
is weird.
Sarah, please suck our balls. Thank you, the loan company.
Because, like, she basically runs her own business. So you'd think that she would be able to get a loan.
It's essentially a mortgage she's asking for.
Yeah.
It's probably going to top 100 grand.
Right.
Yeah, that's a special kind of loan you're getting there. So, on Wednesday, in Turkey, Sarah gets a visit from the cosmetic surgery people who offer to cover her hotel costs while she's in Turkey. Fat lot of fucking use that is, says Sarah, and when she starts talking about compensation, the woman points out that Bethany is an adult and signed the consent forms.
Which were very clear about the risks.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, all surgery is a risk.
Right, that's why you have to sign a form.
Right, yeah.
David catches wind of this, and Audrey is hacking furious about it and promises to trash the company's reputation, which David just scoffs at. At Paul's wake and the Rovers from another storyline, Izzy knows about Bethany's liposuction, which she read off Audrey's socials. Apparently Audrey has torn the company a new arsehole, but has done so publicly. Bernie has had a bit too much to drink and is in too much of a bad mood, and tells David and Daniel that Bethany was asking for it, and shouts that people who have donated should be asking for their money back because that Bethany was getting liposuction. Audrey calls Sarah to apologise
Harsh.
for just a little bit, for spilling the beans, and warning her that some people are hungry for a refund now that they know what the surgery was for.
And also are saying dreadful things about Bethany on the internet, some of which she had to look up. Which begs the question, where is Audrey looking up these naughty words on the internet? Is she going to Urban Dictionary?
Never go to Urban Dictionary. Never. No good can come from that, Audrey.
No.
Sarah seems to take it well enough, as Audrey explains about DMs and walls and digital detox, but really, this is the last thing Bethany needs, Sarah says. So on Friday, Bethany's been kept in Turkey for another week, and it's going to cost 50 grand to get her medevac home. Gail is thinking about selling the house, but David and Adam think that that's too drastic a measure.
Right, because people need to live there.
Right. At number one, Daniel is trying to free up some of Bertie's trust fund to help to pay for Bethany's care. And Ken thinks this is a horrendous idea. This is not Daniel's money. This is not Bethany's money. This is Bertie's money.
Yeah.
And this is for his future. And Bethany has a large family, and they should be the ones coughing up before Bertie does.
Yeah, but Bertie's money can be... It's a trust, so you can take money out, and the money that's still in there is still invested in making more money. So...
But not as much money.
Right. But Bertie is very young. It's going to be a while before he needs to worry about his future. And also, Ken, you gave all of Amy's money to a cult. So I don't think you have any room to speak on this.
And Ken's still got his premium bond winnings, doesn't he?
Right, yeah. Although he's used some of it to take Cassie on vacation.
Right.
Because he's a dirty, dirty old man.
I think Ken's in the right here. I don't think Daniel should be touching that money. But she's my partner. Yeah, she's your partner now. You've been going out for 10 months.
Has it been 10 months?
New Year's Day.
Oh my God. It's been that long. But, they were kind of together before when, Daniel's wife was dying.
Oh, yeah, they've got history. Sure, but how did that end?
What happened to the money from selling Daniel's mum's house?
Is that what's in the trust?
No, because Ken makes the point that this trust is from Sinead and Sinead's family. Isn't it?
No, he says, I don't think anyone else in the Tinker family is going to have any money for Bertie. Which was a little off, but
yeah.
Ken.
Harsh, Ken. Harsh.
No, I think he's right about this.
Well,
Daniel is thinking with his guilty penis here.
Do we want Bethany to die?
Sure.
I hate her as much as you do, but I don't want her to die.
Well, she's not going to die. She's just never going to come home.
She's just a fictitious character, I guess.
Yeah, and she stays in Turkey forever and ever.
Locked up in a hospital.
Yeah, with her chunky jewellery.
I don't think she could wear her jewellery when she's at a hospital bed.
And that sweater.
Not that sweater.
The red one? Sure.
The cardigan.
Oh, not that one.
No.
That's put in one of those dry cleaning wrapped around plastic covers and is hung up in Daniel's special cupboard.
Yeah.
No, he's thinking with his guilty penis here. In the pub, he speaks to Adam about their fiscal woes now that Audrey fucked a fundraiser. Adam reveals Damon's offer with the proceeds off the robbery, but Daniel thinks this is a non-starter, reminds him that he's a solicitor, and tells Adam to delete the message without telling Sarah.
Yeah, fuck you, Daniel. This is not your decision.
No, it's not his decision.
Adam's decision.
No, it's not. There's a very clear
This is
righteous path here.
Right.
And it's telling Sarah.
right, and letting Sarah decide.
Absolutely. And then you've got to make a decision of whether or not you want to get involved in this or not.
Right.
by going to retrieve the money. Mm-hmm. Which presumably then you have to launder somehow to get it into a bank account. But anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So Adam decides to go to prison and he speaks to Damon to see
We
if
get to see Damon.
without his donkey jacket.
No, because he's in prison.
That's
They don't.
right.
They don't let you have donkey jackets in prison.
It's the first thing they took off him.
Probably.
Wants to see if Damon is still genuine. But Damon points out that Adam's behaving like they're still warring about Sarah. They both lost, it's over, he says.
Right. Yeah.
Which is funny. He still loves her though, and he wants to help. And if Adam doesn't pass on the message, he'll just have to call her again.
And this is the core of it, isn't it? That it doesn't matter what Adam and Daniel decide to do here.
Right.
Damon is still free enough to call Sarah anytime and make this offer.
With Harvey's bum phone.
Right, yeah. Or God forbid, at some point, Sarah may become desperate enough where she calls Damon.
Right.
And then shit is going to hit the fan when
Oh.
she finds out that he's already called.
Back at the pub, Daniel hasn't moved. Adam tells him that he's decided to tell Sarah about the offer and let her decide what to do. But Daniel,
Which is the right thing to do.
who Sarah already fucking hates, let's remember,
Yes.
decides that it's a much better idea for Adam to delete the message and never tell anyone. So Adam agrees, and that's what he does. Meanwhile, Gail thinks that a bridging loan is a good idea until they can sell the house. It's the only way they can raise the money, and a valuation guy is coming round next week. And that's as far as we get with that storyline this week. Nice to see Gail again.
Yeah. it's about
Immediately
time.
thinking about selling the house.
Right, yeah.
Here's Gail. What's she doing? She's selling the house. Oh, well, that was quick.
Where's Shona? She's not in it at all this week, and it's kind of weird.
Shouldn't have been in it for a couple of weeks, hasn't she?
No, well,
Oh,
she was in it. She was in it. The last time I distinctly remember her being in it was when Leanne found out that her sister and her fiance were stooping.
Is this a new word?
It's an old word.
Never heard you say it before.
Well,
And now I've heard you say it like 3 times in this podcast.
it's a fun way to say having sex.
Getting your hole, that's what that's for.
Yeah, but people don't like it when you say that.
That's why I say it.
Right, and that's why all the Canadians have left.
It's taken them 7 years.
Come back, Canada! Come back! He's not really that offensive, I promise.
It's probably something you said.
Canadians are used to Americans being assholes.
Yeah,
It's fine.
everyone has a limit, Helen. Everyone. So
Plus, I love Canada.
do I.
I love Canadians. They're my favorite people. I wish
Oh, too little, too late.
I wish I lived in Canada.
Yeah, we all do. Anyway, I think we really hit the nail on the head on what the main part of this storyline is, which is the reluctance to tell Sarah what Sarah must know.
And which Sarah could very easily find out
And,
at any time.
And will find
And
out.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not going to
And
get her
will
any favours
hate
from Daniel.
even more.
I'm all for that. I'm absolutely all for that. I'm also surprised that Audrey's outburst online had such a detrimental effect on the fundraiser. I would imagine it would take a little bit of a hit, but I can't imagine everyone suddenly wanting their money back. It's still a young woman who's
Right. Who's
essentially
near death.
trapped. Well, was near death. Who's
Well, she
trapped in
could possibly
Turkey
be near death again. You don't know.
with the pneumonia and the sepsis.
Right, yeah. And the stoma, those things get infected all the time.
She's stuck in Turkey. This is maybe something that would probably garner quite a bit of sympathy online, but
Right, yes, because let's not forget how much British people hate everyone else.
that's right. And if you can blame Johnny Foreigner for it, then that's exactly what you're going to do.
Right, yeah. I'm also a little shocked by how horrified everybody seems to be about plastic surgery and liposuction. How dare she try to augment her body in some way? It's like some of you have glasses and some of you have had your teeth done. It's fine. Plastic surgery is fine. A little bit of liposuction. She nearly died. That should be the thing that people are worried about.
Mm-hmm. She had an operation and
Right.
it went wrong.
That's how Kanye West's mom died, and then he went crazy. She died due to botched liposuction. So these things happen.
Yeah, it is still, I mean, it's been more accepted in recent years, certainly, but it is still kind of, I don't know if it's frowned upon, but it is looked upon as being something completely different from regular surgery. And it is different from regular surgery, I guess, but
Sometimes it's something like Ryan's skin grafts. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes
yeah.
plastic surgery is helping a woman who has had to have a double mastectomy.
right.
You know?
No, I agree. I mean, we can argue over the reasons why she wanted to get it done in the first place. And I think they're putting maybe too much on Daniel's opinions. I don't know how much
No, I think
weight they have.
I think it is much more that she was groomed at an early age, and also she had a teenage mom, which probably didn't help matters much either. And also, she's a character on a soap opera.
Right. That's a big one there at the end.
Yes, yes.
Gail selling the house. Gail's never selling that house.
Well, I mean, they did fill in that sinkhole. So,
Oh, so that's
At
definitely
least-
a selling point. Recently
Right.
filled in sinkhole.
yes, it's perfection.
It did have a sinkhole problem, but
We fixed it.
we've
We
filled
fixed
it in.
A man died. And a gun fell down there and floated out. But, you know, it's fine.
But it's fixed now.
Who would even buy that house?
It's a nice house. In terrace.
Right, yeah, but who on the street has enough money to buy that house? Because it would have to be, unless they have another brand new family move in.
Uh-oh. A wacky comedy cartoon family moving into the street. Whoa.
Lesbians.
A house of
A
lesbians.
house of lesbians who are lesbians from the second they step on the street to the second they get crushed by the factory.
Oh, not again. Why does this roof hate lesbians? All right. On that bombshell, let's move on to our final storyline, putting the fun in funeral. On Monday, Billy has decided to show an interest and drops in at the quad house to see how the rave plans are going and to invite Bernie along to arrange the floral tribute. Bernie agrees to meet him there later, but privately has concerns that Billy will choose black and white flowers when Paul lived his life in living colour. So, in Nina's roles, Billy and Bernie are low-key bickering until Roy comes up with an obvious compromise. Lilies for the church, something horrendously garish for the casket. Todd comes in to discuss Paul's ashes, and Billy and Bernie are some way off agreeing anything about that, but Billy offers to pick them up when they're ready. Back home, Bernie is moaning at Dev about how nothing Billy has planned is what Paul would have wanted. She also announces that she wants half the ashes so she can bury them with a tree so that he can sprout and live again.
Right. Which seems sensible.
Yeah. Todd goes to visit Billy and they talk about the funeral. Billy is dreading it but appreciates that it will help and give him some closure. He's agreed to split the ashes with Bernie, so that's one less thing to worry about. In the pub, Bernie has had a better idea than the tree thing, and she wants to send Paul's ashes into motherfucking space.
Because his name is Apollo.
Thank goodness his name wasn't John, otherwise she would have flushed them down the toilet. Now that's a joke. That is a joke.
It would have been better if you hadn't pointed out that it was a joke. But yes. What the fuck is this?
Seriously.
This is not the first time this week, or this is the first time this week that I think this. It won't be the last time. But while she's explaining this, and which is not a cheap thing to do, Hunter S. Thompson's ashes, I think, got exploded into space. And, you know...
And Paul was no Hunter S. Thompson.
No, thank God. He was a decent human being. Paul, I mean. And fictitious.
Right.
I kid. There were there were redeeming qualities about Hunter S. Thompson. But anyway.
Just in case the estate of Hunter S. Thompson is thinking about becoming a friend of the podcast.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's... Anyway.
Yeah, draw a line under it. Move on.
This family goes into...
The lesbian family?
No.
Oh.
The Winter Browns.
The Dulux Winter Browns.
Go into crisis mode when one of their children grows out of a pair of shoes.
Yes.
And yet they are going to find the money to shoot Paul into space.
One word. China. China's space program. They're not actually firing them into space. It's a balloon.
No, it's like a little rocket.
No, no, it isn't. It's a balloon that goes up, and she explained this. It's a balloon that goes up to 100,000 feet, and then once it gets to 100,000 feet, it very gently, she says, although at 100,000 feet, I don't know that the gentleness of the tip is important.
Of a balloon.
The ashes pour out and become part of the atmosphere. That's how she described it. There's no rocket.
Drifting gently. But there
I wish
could
there
be.
was a rocket, because that would be fucking
Because
hilarious.
his name is Apollo. He has to go on a rocket.
What happened to Apollo 1? It blew up, didn't it?
Yeah, but still, this is a pricey. This is not burying him under a tree
No,
in
it's
the backyard.
slightly more expensive than that.
Yes, just a wee bit. And Dev's like, "Oh, no problem. I will definitely pay for this, but I refuse to pay for your family's food or shoes or life."
Yeah. A balloon takes the ashes up and dips them out so that they become part of the atmosphere. And so when it rains, it's raining Paul.
Hallelujah.
Dev remarkably thinks this is a wonderful idea.
He doesn't really.
Well, he humours
Or
them.
Initially, he doesn't. Initially, he's as horrified as we are.
On Wednesday,
But then he gives in. It says, "Yes, I will pay for this ridiculous thing, but I refuse to buy your grandchildren's shoes."
that's exactly what he said. Or food. On Wednesday, at the God flat, Billy is preparing for the funeral, looking at his wedding photos. A year to the day. Meanwhile, the Winter Browns are getting dressed, Bernie making a fuss about everyone getting ready. Joseph is too upset though, and he won't be going. The hearse is a blue Impreza, not a pink one, with the hatchback open, so the coffin can go in. Kirk thinks it's cool. Billy is in full Pope mode as he blesses the Subaru with a passage that makes Bernie uncomfortable. At the church, Billy...
And it looks like with the thing that he's using in the holy water is like a juicer. It looks like a wooden juicer, and I was like, why is he splashing the holy water with a juicer?
I thought it was Tyrone's turkey baster again, but thankfully not. Oh, rogue hair, just... always rogue. It's always rogue.
God, it's like The Omen all over again.
Now, the show made a big deal about their little visual effects thing that they did with Joel sitting in the car that no one realised had been a special effect. That they had the camera move round about as Joel was leaving his message for...
Right, and he had like that piece of his skull missing.
This was...
Like Willem Dafoe in Beetlejuice.
He had a cut in his head. And they showed us the green screen that was involved in it, the rigging that went round, the dolly that managed to shoot from all these different angles and stuff. And it's like, nobody noticed that this was a special effect.
Wow, all of those people who are really worried about the fact that they may lose their jobs on this soap opera must be really impressed by this.
It didn't
use
look like a
of money.
huge amount of money was spent on it. But if they're doing that, they don't have to buy a pink Impreza, as I think I approved on social media.
Right, although yours was purple.
Well, it was a pinky purple. But you can change the colour key and make this whatever colour you like.
Right, yeah, it's not like we watched this thing drive off.
It's in two shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give him his pink fucking Subaru. Cheap bastards. Anyway.
Anyway.
At the church, Billy's worried that he's treated Bernie badly. Someone asks him what Paul would say in this situation, and no one knows. In the church, though, Billy finds a drunken, smelly Denny. We haven't seen Denny for a while, and I was sure that Bernie had killed him.
Yes.
Billy tells him he can stay so long as he's out of sight, and he stops
And
drinking.
shuts up.
Yep. Paul's coffin is brought in by David, Todd, Summer, Dee Dee, Chesney, and Kit. So it's a little bit lopsided.
Yes, because you have short Summer and very, very tall Kit.
Wait, no. You have short everyone and very tall Kit. Did you see Jack P. Shepherd's clip on Instagram
Yes.
with him walking in, where he just takes his hands away from the
Right.
coffin and just stretches a little bit?
Right, yeah.
Because he's obviously not carrying it at all.
No.
I thought
That was hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah, after Kit, I think Dee Dee's the tallest one there, yeah?
probably. During the funeral, Billy isn't great at this. His voice cracks as he speaks of Paul, their wedding a year ago, and how he loved to swim in the Scuddy, and how they'll meet in heaven again, and how he had a nice smile and believed in equality. Apparently, Paul's hero was Jackie Chan. It goes well, though, until the end, and on the walk out, Bernie spots Denny staggering about, and she's fuming, but even worse when Billy says that he agreed to let him stay just to keep the peace, because he showed up just
Right.
before it started.
Yeah.
She accuses him of favouring Denny, even after everything the shitbag did the last time he was in town, which
Right.
Billy well remembers. Anything for a quiet life, eh, Bill? Billy accuses Bernie of not having a monopoly on grief, saying that she was MIA for most of Paul's life, so Bernie tells Billy that Paul was already dead when he said his goodbyes.
See, they were both equally cruel to one another.
Yeah, but I don't know why Bernie's blaming Billy for Denny being there.
Right, yeah.
Blame Denny.
Right, yeah. He's the one who showed up with a six-pack.
Not that kind of six-pack.
No,
He's not been working out.
no.
Not been doing crunchies.
No, he's like holding the last two cans with like the plastic things that kill sea turtles
Oh.
still attached.
We've all walked the walk of shame, carrying your almost dead six-pack by one of the plastic rings.
That kill sea turtles.
Yeah, that's just a benefit.
Yeah.
Billy obviously doesn't take this well.
No.
Begs Bernie to say that she was lying, but she can't. She regrets saying it, blames her overreaction on seeing Denny. Now, he wishes that he didn't know this and tells Bernie that she is something else. Later at the wake, Bernie confesses to someone in the family about what she said. She doesn't seem to be remotely remorseful about this until she sees everybody else's reaction.
Yeah.
Summer looks like she's going to be sick. Then Billy comes in his evening wear, already halfway to fucked, saying that the atmosphere is like a wake in here, so he starts to sing, which makes the atmosphere worse.
Badly.
Sean offers to take him home, which he misinterprets. He produces a bottle of vodka from somewhere and then fucks off, saying that he's going back to the flat and to get on Grindr. And he says that Paul would have thought that was funny. Everybody's thinking that
They
what
know
Paul
what
would
Paul
say
would
in this
want
situation. It just
or say.
really annoys me.
It is so annoying, especially when Bernie does it. But it's annoying when Billy does it too.
Right. Summer tells Todd to go after him, which isn't the best idea she's ever had.
No. Especially since we've already sent Ed after him, and then Sean after him, and now Todd.
Todd finds Billy in the community garden drinking vodka straight out the bottle in public.
Like it's New Orleans or something.
I know. He worries that the last words Paul heard him say were, "I need to find my phone." They weren't. They were, "I'll be as quick as I can." Todd tries to put a positive spin on how everyday their last words were, but Billy is in no mood to be cheered. Todd drags him home, and when they collapse on the couch, Todd tells him not to beat himself up too much, and Billy makes a pass at Todd, who reacts violently, pulls Billy off,
And I like that.
and tells him that this is not what he wants. Billy angrily tries to throw Todd out. Todd refuses to leave, and as Billy cries and says he's sorry, Todd comforts him. And that brings us on to this week's Hard Debate.
Yeah, and Billy accuses him of fluttering his eyes at him, and
Yeah.
it's like, Billy,
That's blinking.
fuck you,
This week's Hard Debate. Who's the asshole here?
Billy.
Billy, Bernie, both, or neither?
Oh. Both.
Neither got 11.5%.
Really?
Bernie, some nice souls voted to say, nah, it's just grief.
But you can be an asshole in grief.
Bernie, 25.8%. Both, 26.8%. And top in the charts is our Billy, 35.9% of the vote.
Did Den vote more than once?
Probably. So Billy plus half of both equals round about half the vote.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday, it's the day of Paul's rave and no one was stirring, not even a mouse. Joseph is feeling guilty about dodging the funeral and decides to dodge the rave as well. He'd rather go to school. Bernie, though, is getting ready to go big style. She claims to have left messages for Billy apologising, but Billy isn't answering. Billy is nursing another hangover, and he will decide later if he can be arsed going to the rave. He just wants to get Paul's ashes. Def has ordered extra kebabs for the rave and seems shocked when Bernie mentions that she used to get eckied off her tits back in the day. She quizzes Todd about Billy, and he's obviously awkward about it and says nothing happened. And then the two of them go off to pick up the ashes, and Bernie arranges for them to be brought back for the rave to sit atop the speaker. So with Ryan DJing...
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, doesn't it?
Yeah, something that vibrates an awful lot.
Yeah.
You put something precious on top of that.
Right, yeah.
So with Ryan DJing, so begins the most cringe sequence of scenes Corrie has produced since Brian Packer vomited from a hoist on the school governors.
And far too many boater hats.
Well, that was the style of the day.
Was it?
So Billy goes to the Undertaker's and apologises to Todd for what happened last night, or what didn't happen last night. But he is fucking furious to learn that Bernie has already picked the ashes up. How dare Bernie expose the cremated remains of his husband to techno music? He goes to complain to Bernie, who hands him a tiny box that's got a little bit of string tied round it with his very meagre portion of Paul's remains.
Now,
The rest will be fired into motherfucking space.
we are told this is a meager amount of his ashes, but you don't get an awful lot of ashes left, do you?
More than double what's in that box.
Yeah, I suppose. If you because it's not just ash, though. Because there are parts of the body that don't really burn up very well.
Maybe a little bits of bone.
Bone and, stuff. I don't know. It's weird because, then you assume that that all of the rest of them are in the urn. But the urn would have held what's in that teeny white box as well. Mm-hmm. And you don't know how compacted the ashes are in that box as well.
I think it's a more symbolic thing.
Yeah.
Bernie gets a big, massive urn.
Which is maybe half full, if that.
And then Billy gets his little matchbox.
Yeah.
I think it's more symbolic.
I suppose.
Billy can't believe Bernie would sink so low and thinks the space idea is fucking ridiculous. Bernie insists Paul would want to be fired into space. Billy thinks that she's manipulated him, lied to him, and is now disrespecting Paul's remains. Summer agrees and takes Billy off to cool down. Billy, though, doesn't want to be babysat and tells Summer to go back to the awful, awful rave, while he sits on the curb outside the florist, until he says to himself, you know what, fuck it. And while everyone is pretending that they love to dance to rave music on a really small stage in the middle of the street, he walks through them all, steals the urn from the speaker, and buggers off back to the flat with it.
And nobody notices this.
No.
Even though he has to squeeze through the crowd to get to the urn.
Yeah, the 16 people that are standing on that little podium.
Right, some of whom we've never seen
Some of whom
before.
we don't know who they are.
And then that one guy that we haven't seen since that DVD of How I Met Your Mother was thrown in the prison all those many years ago, who is now clean, apparently.
Yep, and he's now seen season 2 of How I Met Your Mother. Bernie quickly notices the ash is gone and storms off to Billy's to have it out with him. Todd and Summer intervene, and the way Todd mentions last night again makes Bernie become suspicious about something that might have happened, and Todd awkwardly denies it. Summer the only adult, I think, urges calm, explains that Billy has been through a lot, is grieving, and she begs Bernie not to make things worse than they already are, after everything else that she's kind of spoiled for Billy. So Bernie's a little subdued when she goes into Billy's, and she sits with him and they talk about Paul like they're not fighting each other.
Right, yeah, because she's going in there guns blazing, but then she sees Billy pathetically curled on the floor,
Right.
hugging the urn, and you can't be that mad at a man who is so pathetic looking
Right.
at that point.
They're in the same boat. They're lost without Paul. Then Bernie explains how her mum kept her dad's ashes in the wardrobe for 6 months and then essentially used them to grit the front path after it snowed. And somehow, this brings Billy round to the whole let's fire Paul into space idea. They hug and cry together. Billy thinks Paul would have loved today, and he would have loved being shot into space. There's a sentence I never thought I'd say. All is forgiven, and they go back to the stupid rave, which finishes with a fireworks show that demonstrates
Who's paying for this?
what it'll look like when they finally fire Paul into space.
Like, they're not like little cherry bombs or anything. They're like full-blown thousands of dollars fireworks display up in the sky.
This is
Fireworks.
a public display.
They can't buy shoes for their children, but they can spend thousands of dollars to create a fireworks display up in the sky over Coronation Street. Who's paying for this?
Who's paying for the license to allow this?
Because are fireworks even legal in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, but I don't think I could have gone into a shop and bought that sort of size of fireworks.
Yeah, it's not like here where there are tents selling them
Right,
all through the month of July.
right. No, you can get little rockets and you
Right.
can get sparklers and bangers
Yeah,
and
pinwheels.
Catherine wheels and stuff.
Right.
But things that whistle very loudly and then explode
Up
twice.
in the sky.
Yeah. You can get things that explode in the sky, but
Right, but
small
not
things.
that high up in
No.
the sky.
No, I don't think so.
Who's paying for this? They cannot buy shoes. Those children aren't going to eat until Christmas to pay for these fireworks.
I've got 4 lines to go and then we're done.
But you understand my frustration.
If I didn't before, I do now. So the rave finishes with a fireworks show that'll demonstrate what it'll be like when they finally fire Paul into space, and this dazzles and delights the residents of Coronation Street, finally lets Gemma start to cry and grieve, and scares Peanut into taking a shit on Kirk's carpet.
Right.
And that is how we end this week's episode.
Well, everybody looks up and says, who's paying for this?
I think we've maybe given the impression that we don't quite agree that it's a good idea to fire or float Paul into space.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I have a problem with what we have been given to understand is the poorest family on the street who can barely afford living hand to mouth week by week, whose practically every storyline is that they can't buy shoes and they have to sell themselves to Freshcos just to get by for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Can justify the expense.
No, for me it's the fire into space thing. It's just so stupid. And again, do you know, maybe Paul would have thought, who cares, I'm going to be dead. Do what you like with me, fire me into space.
Right.
But Bernie has taken so many things for granted here. Whenever she says, this is what Paul would have wanted.
Right.
If Paul had wanted any of this, Paul would have told somebody that he wanted this and documented it. Because he did start to do that, and then the only thing that he said is that he wanted a pink Subaru and he didn't get it.
$1,500 to shoot your ashes into space.
1,500?
$1,500.
1,500.
Yes.
Well,
Which
that's
is
cheaper than I would.
which is cheaper than I expected. But again, Gemma stole shoes a couple of weeks ago because they can't afford shoes.
Hey, you take care of the pennies and the pounds look after themselves.
Yes. BeyondBurials.com if you're interested in having your ashes shot into space.
Not that we're sponsored by them or anything. Or if they want to sponsor us, they're more than welcome. And the hard debate question, I think I'm voting for both. There were some things that Bernie did that I really didn't agree with, and Billy's reaction to most of it was kind of annoying. But it seemed that Bernie was going out of her way to make decisions that are purely going to not do something that Paul would want,
Right,
but to do
annoy
something
Billy.
that Billy wouldn't want.
But at the same time, there are things that seem kind of reasonable, like having a poster of Paul up. They did have a picture.
I've
have a
never
small
been to a
picture.
funeral that has a picture of the deceased.
Really?
Really.
I have.
Good for you. I haven't. I don't think that's something that really happens all that often in the UK.
And, and oh no, she wants flowers that have colors in them. Oh no, what are we going to do?
I can't believe that Billy would have cared less about the colour of the flowers.
Right, yeah. Him being all prim and proper about white lilies. It's not fucking Easter, Billy.
No.
And Paul is not Jesus Christ.
What? Well, he would have risen again by now, wouldn't he?
One would hope. So it's just, I don't know. And it's a wee shame because the story has been so well done.
So good. So good
well
up until the
done on
moment that he died.
M&D. And then it's like, they remembered that this is a soap opera and we have to create drama where there is none and have the ridiculousness of the deceased's mother wanting them to play Who Let the Dogs Out at the funeral.
Right. Yeah, so that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I file that along with the firing them into space thing. And really the rave, oh my God, can we talk about the rave?
They block off the whole city street and then everybody's just crunched into a teeny tiny part of it.
I mean, prove to me that no music is playing during the filming of that, that the music is added post-production. Right. Because nobody's dancing in time to the music.
No.
Everyone's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
No one looks entirely comfortable about having to do this.
No, and they're squeezed into this tiny space instead of being nice and spread out. And there are all these extras that I'm like, who are these people? Where did they come from?
Where's the old kebab guy?
Right.
Where's fish guy?
Right. Like the people who are like, there's these two older people, a man with glasses, and I'm assuming his wife at the very back, who are the people who are like front and center when everybody turns around to look at the fireworks. And you're like, who are these people? There were people behind Todd, and I'm like, who are these people? Because at the funeral, there are people in the pews, and I'm like, who are these people?
It was a very poorly attended funeral.
Right, you would expect, and this is one of my problems. Why is Shona not at this funeral with David? Shona would absolutely be there.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like they have this money for a volume wall, but they don't have enough money to pay her to be there for the funeral scene.
Yeah, there was a few people that should have been there. I was rather impressed, though, that the guy from prison was there.
Yeah, I liked that. That made sense. And they gave him lines.
They did.
Yeah.
And they reminded us that Paul's nickname was Minty.
Yes.
Because he always had minty fresh breath.
That's right.
I don't remember that, but anyway.
How did people know? How did people get close enough to smell his minty fresh breath?
Like talking to him.
This Beyond Burials place. They can shoot you all the way to the moon.
So they say.
You could even have a Milky Way memorial.
Fine.
I don't know what that
That's
entails.
great. I'm glad you're looking at that. Yeah, I mean, I could have done without the drama of Billy hitting the bottle, Billy drinking straight vodka out the bottle in public during the day. It's never a good look when Abby does it, never mind when Billy does it. And everyone drinks the vodka like it's water, which it is.
Right.
But do people, I guess people do drink it straight from the bottle, but it's just, you want a mixer for that, surely to God. And surely Billy wants a mixer with that. God, Billy definitely wants a mixer with that. So yeah, just having the two of them being so dogmatic about it, I think Billy probably, as the husband, has the final say in the matter.
Mm-hmm.
But he should be consulting Bernie at every stage, and they should make compromises together,
Right.
and agree to what is best. And maybe say, no, I don't think Who Let the Dogs Out is fit for a church,
Right.
Bernie. And I think if you think about it for a second, you'd probably agree.
Right.
How about All Things Bright and Beautiful?
Well, and again, this is the thing. Why not have Oh Happy Day, which is a song that means something to Billy and to Paul?
Yeah, that never got played.
You know, that could have been played. He could have said to Bernie, all right, well, do you have a favorite hymn? Is there a hymn that you like? Because I'm sure that there are some older hymns which are based on folk songs that Bernie probably likes.
How great would it have been if they'd actually had a little choir up behind Billy singing Oh Happy Day? That would have been fantastic.
Yeah. They did that for the wedding, so they couldn't afford to do it a second time, but they were able to afford fireworks.
Oh, well.
For fuck's sake.
Well, that was the week there was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week? And you better not say fireworks.
Do you honestly think I would say fireworks?
No.
Considering how mad I am?
No, that's kind of the joke.
They can't afford shoes.
We know. I think you've made your point. Moment of the week.
Is it Billy and Bernie finally making peace on the floor of the flat?
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
It was a nice scene.
It was.
As soon as she sat down next to him, you think,
Right,
okay, this is
Finally.
this is people meeting in the middle here.
Finally.
Yeah. Okay, that's our
Yeah.
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
boring moment of the week.
Those two random girls giving glow sticks to Ken, who enjoys them far too much.
I think Ken was ekied. Don't you?
He seemed a bit. Because he's like walking down the streets.
He enjoyed
Waving.
the
Yeah, when he claimed to Daniel that he doesn't like the
Right.
But it wasn't really
It was quite that.
It could have been so much worse.
Oh, sure. That was still pretty bad. I hate that music. It's dreadful. That was our...
Moment of the week.
No,
No.
it was the opposite of that. It was our...
Thank
There we
you.
go. That's what that button does. All right, moving on to my non-scientific weekly Twitter poll, where I ask our followers and anyone who cares to express an opinion what they thought about the past week's Coronation Street. We asked them to choose between yay, meh, and zzz. This week, yay and zzz are tied on 28.9%. And the winner by some margin is meh with 42.2%. And you know, I think they would probably be expecting a better reaction for essentially a 2-funeral week.
Yeah,
Disappointing. And
Yes.
it was a bit disappointing.
it was.
But hey, we don't let these scores influence our scores, of course. So, Helen, tell me, what is your score out of 10 this week? Last week, you gave it a 4.
5.
It's a 5 for me. It's straight down the middle. It's textbook meh. I could have took or leave it. It was actually, as we were coming home from Okemos after work today, I was thinking, do you know, I could quite easily see this podcast far enough tonight. Just I don't know if I can be bothered talking about it. But hey, it's turned out to be quite good fun.
Yes. Yes, we always make it good fun, even when the show does not.
Sometimes it's easier.
Yes.
All right, let's wrap this one up then. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast: Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B, Brittany Porter, Lauriana, and Tina. Thank you all very much.
Muchas gracias.
If you've ever had your motherfucking ashes scattered in space, but not really, write in to tell us about it. We're the talkofthestreet@gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Or reach us the old-fashioned way, the Talk of the Street, P.O. Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, or patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Mama's little baby does not, in fact, love shortened bread.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.